All right, guys, let me know if you can hear me okay. As always, make sure this audio is on point. Let me know where you're from and what you shoot. And if you're ready to go live, I want you to type ready in the chat. So let's do this old school like we used to do. Type ready. Let me know where you're from. Let me know what you shoot. Not what you shoot with, what you shoot. All right? Give me a bunch. I want to see a bunch of readies in that chat. All right. Trying to make room in here. For what? I don't know, because I don't know what we're going to get into. All right. All right. Okay, here we go, guys. Bingo and bango. What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday. It's 11 o'clock, so we go Eastern, so we go live. And we do kind of an Ask Me Anything. This kind of turned into an Ask Me Anything. When I initially started this, I was like, I'll come up with something cool to show people. But I realized we just don't have this kind of format anywhere else on the channel. It's kind of Twitch format, right? We just kind of go live, hang out, whatever happens, happens. And I think it's, even if it's not the most popular format or people don't engage as much as more convenient formats, I do think that this is an important format to have. So thank you guys for joining me here. What's going on, Heidi, Joris, Steven? What? John Call, I can hear you, just follow me. All right. EJ, what's going on? Steve Land, how are you? Okay, so real quick, before we jump into whatever we're gonna get into, there's some stuff you should know about. So the events are happening as always, but if you missed it, this past week, couple weeks, has been bananas. You have Gili Karav, an actual lawyer, talking to you about copyright law as a photographer, as a creative, as it pertains to AI, all this stuff, if they're using your work, if they're scraping your work from something, or whatever it is, even if it's about transformative, what's that called? Not common use, fair use. It's all covered there. So make sure you go check out that one. That is a very important one. And I really thought we would have a higher view count on that one. The engagement from those who did watch it is great, and I appreciate you. Maybe share it with some of your friends. You know, if you know someone that's wondering what's going on with AI in this era and whatever we're doing, maybe this is where we want to kind of share those kind of videos. The other one you're going to want to check out is Jennifer Stitt. She went through a bunch of different lens choices while shooting couples and why she goes through those. And I know a lot of people have that question specifically, like, what lens should I use and blah, blah, blah. Well, she went through it and did it live. You also have Susan Magnano doing live light painting, which was, I think, gives you guys an idea in real time what's actually happening with long shutter. You had William Adwin, who did flattering light and posing. So a lot of you asked for posing classes. That is a total posing class right there. There is a really special stream tomorrow. Hopefully you guys are down for it. It's a chill stream. I'm talking a stream where you pop on, you leave it on, and you kind of enjoy your day. So what's happening tomorrow? I'm so glad you guys asked. You're really on it. You're really on it. Boom. We got Carmen Gonzalez coming in, and she's going to be doing pet portraits all day. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the multicam stream, just no host, no to camera stuff, but she's going to be photographing the pets of New York all day. There's going to be a set here, and I'm just going to kind of leave it on as like a fly on the wall type deal. All right. Let me know if you guys are into that kind of stuff. I'm trying different formats on this channel while it's still a relatively small channel, while they let me get away with whatever I want. So let's see if you guys are into it. If you are, make sure you let it be known. You know, jump in that chat, say what's up, chat with each other, see who's in there. You know, try to have conversation with each other while something like that is live. Kind of like that all-day replay stream that I did, where I put like 8 hours of past streams together. Am I still live with you guys? I feel like this chat room just froze. You guys in there? Tell me. But basically, it's just a nice stress relieving. Do you remember back in the day they used to have webcams on like an eagle's nest waiting for an egg to hatch kind of a thing? Kind of like that, but higher res, and you're actually watching someone work with animals as a pet photographer. I think it's pretty cool. We're gonna give it a shot. And you know, there's other events happening. Daniel's coming back in. He's gonna be doing your first lighting kit. That's on the main channel. And I think Dan does a really good job of doing basics of like where you should start and rationalizing your choices as far as gear goes without putting you guys in a hard spot budget wise. And he gives you a lot of perspective in that regard. So make sure you kind of check that out on the main channel. Remember, he's like every other Thursday. This channel is everything else basically. And that's kind of what I wanted to go through for the events. The events channel, by the way, you guys, you are part of almost 40,000. Do you remember we were struggling to get to 10,000? We were almost at 40K. If we can get to 50K, I know we can get to 100K, and I want that silver play button. I want the silver play button. Last week, I think we went down a bit of a rabbit hole. I think, was it Edgar, I think, who asked about doing something Stranger Things themed or feeling for like a Christmas shoot they were doing. You can't find, wait a second. Heidi, are you telling me you can't find the copyright video? Hold on, I'm gonna show you right now. If I go to Adorama events, you know what it is? Because it was live and not an edited video. So there's two tabs on every YouTube channel. There's the live and there's the posted videos. You might only see the stuff that we put together as, what do you call them? Not compilations, but there's a live tab. So let me show you guys. Look, this is the main channel. This is the channel. It says we're live right now. This is the main tab of it. But if you go to this is the main tab of it where you'll see all the past stuff. But if you just go to the live tab right here, copyright and AI for photographers, this was a really, really good talk. So make sure you go and check that out. In fact, I tell you what, I will put this link in the chat for you just so you guys can definitely find it. All right. Boom. And boom. Okay. I didn't realize it was an all-day thing. I thought it was a normal hour-long format. If Lucky was still with me, oh, that's a shame. Yeah, look. I grew up with a dog whisperer mom and a father that rescued like all the craziest animals you could think of. And I feel so fortunate I got to be around all these fuzzy faces. And in New York, the dog culture is strong. So I'm super psyched to have some pet portraits going on here. Hopefully they don't mess with my setup, chew through some wires, you know, cause some things need to be cleaned up. We'll find out. I think Quinn might have an allergy. By the way, no one says hello to Quinn. No one says hello to Quinn. Have you tried New Affinity? I have not. As you guys know, I'm almost completely Capture One. I have used Canva in the past, but it isn't. Canva, I just find isn't intuitive for me. I think because when you've been trained on kind of. So if you didn't know, Canva bought Affinity. And Affinity is now a free model until you want the higher end tools. Basically the same model that DaVinci is using. Look, it's free. Give it a shot, right? But because I bring up Canva because Canva bought them and the Canva interface is still like kind of rough for me. Affinity, I don't know where I even fit it in my workflow really because I'm pretty much all Capture One. I don't really do heavy manipulations, and if I do need to do something, I still use Photoshop, so which is an industry standard, you know. But we'll see, things change, right? Look how much ground DaVinci made, but DaVinci is also basically put out there is Blackmagic Design, which is a cinema company. So, you know, kind of a different story there. They're more of an ecosystem from hardware to software. Affinity was kind of like a free software that got acquired. Man, I'm having trouble with words today. I apologize. All right. I did get a couple questions on my Instagram story, so let's jump on that. Okay, one of them I totally answered directly because I don't think it's something we need to live stream. So Pag's Photo, if you're in here, I think that's Tony, right? Seth, A10 menu, I noticed there's a normal and a freeze mode. What's the difference? So this is not just Pro Photo specific. Let me see if I can even show you guys on a menu here. But all modern strobes, most strobes, have a mode where they're going to give you either color fidelity or flash duration priority. And there's basically, let me just show you where it is before I go into this. Let me see if you guys can even see that. Can you see that? It says Eco, what does it say? Eco, Boost, and Freeze, right? So these are just settings for Pro Photo, but this isn't the end all for just Pro Photo. So some of you might have Flashpoint, which has color mode, I think they call it. Basically what's happening is in your normal strobe modes, you have capacitors filling with energy and then discharging. If they go through a normal discharge, there's a climb, in milliseconds, I mean fractions and fractions of a second, there is a climb to power, full power, and then there's a trail off as the capacitor depletes and as the bulb or the tube burns down. What freeze mode does is it actually just cuts off the rest of the depletion of the capacitor. It's kind of like like a kill switch so that it stops the die off of the flash. And because it's not going through a full capacitor dump, they cannot guarantee you color fidelity. So if you're doing something that is motion critical, meaning you're shooting something that's fast moving, but you want your flash duration to be super short so it freezes it, like when you guys have fun freezing water splashes and stuff like that, if you need a faster flash duration, or I was just doing something motion critical that I will talk about in a few weeks when I can get out of NDA. I was so worried about motion distortion from the length of time that the flash was going off for, because I was shooting at f11. Shooting at a closed down aperture means that my power goes up. The higher your power goes up in your strobe, no matter what brand, no matter what series of lights, no matter what, it gets a longer flash duration the more power you put up there, in most cases, if not all cases. So usually when you're doing something that is motion critical, meaning you don't want motion blur from a long flash duration, what you're basically trying to do is get a shorter flash duration. And so you will make compromises to, you will make, come on, dude. You'll make compromises to your settings to ease off the power of the strobe. In freeze mode, you don't really have to do that, but you could risk a color shift, meaning it could shoot bluer, could shoot warmer. I've never seen a Pro Photo strobe shoot green or magenta. Some strobes do that sometimes. I can't really explain to you why that is. Usually it has something to do with the lens that the light is going through. That's another story. But pretty much freeze mode or color mode, whatever they call it in your, they're two different things, but whatever they call something like that in your strobes, whatever brand it is, you're either choosing a faster flash duration at the risk of a color shift, or you're sacrificing flash duration for color fidelity, meaning that it stays consistent and true to daylight standards, basically. Does that make sense to you guys? So I honestly, I haven't even seen freeze modes in Pro Photo do such a drastic shift in color that I've recognized it, but I also have never used freeze mode in a color critical situation, meaning if I'm shooting commercial makeup, why do I keep doing that? If I'm shooting like commercial makeup and they need that red to look this red, or if I'm shooting something that's a product that has to be accurate to whatever that color should look like, I'm not in freeze mode, right? But if I'm shooting in freeze mode to freeze action, there's usually something else going on in the scene that I'm trying to make happen, like a shutter drag or something. And because the shutter is so open for so long, the freezing of my motion comes from the flash duration itself being its own shutter speed. So instead of it being like an 800th of a second, it'll be 3,000th of a second. And that fraction of time is a big difference when you're talking about freezing motion. Does that make sense to you guys? You guys are going real quiet. This freaks me out every time you do this. Hopefully this is making sense. If this, hopefully this makes sense. But yeah, and you know, I think maybe probably because in like the Pro Photo manual, it just says like, put into freeze mode if you need to freeze the subject. that is something that is in all pro photo strobes, at least in the modern pro photo strobes, at least. Back in the day when you had power packs, I had a Speedotron power pack. Actually, I still do. I have three Speedotron power packs. They're massive. If you follow me, you've seen me pull them onto stream. They're like huge, and they have long flash durations. They will give you power, but I mean, any movement you would usually show up because that bulb burned for so long. That tube, I should say, burned for so long. There was a setting on that, which was a hard toggle switch that was either recycle or economy, something like that. And that would actually prolong the life of your strobes if you worked a lot, because if you chose to have faster recycle, it would put more wear and strain on the strobes. Nowadays, we're worrying about flash duration more than that. And now this is all self-contained without needing a power pack or cables, which is kind of nuts, right? What's going on, Maya? How are you? So I hope that answered that question. Everybody with me? You guys with me? What's going on here? What is going on here? What's going on, Brad? How are you? I saw something else in the chat. Cooley's asking, what a lightweight way to mount two... what? What a light way... You're looking for a light... Okay. You're looking to mount two 200-watt strobes in a lightweight way other than an ADB2 head. Are you talking about the adapter where you plug in two lights into it? Is that what that is? Because we deal with Flashpoint here, and those are called Evolve 200s. So I'm not sure what that thing you're talking about is, to be honest. But if you're talking about, hey Wes, do you have that thing that you put two Evolve 200s in to make one? And can you bring me an Evolve 200? Let me see if I can hash this out for you guys, all right? Hey, Melanie, how are you? Dale, what's going on? By the way, thank you guys for the support on my main channel. I appreciate that. Let me see if I can get this hashed out for you as far as what you're talking about. Just so you know, if you put two lights together, you're going to get double the weight. There's no way around that. If you were trying to make a 400-watt strobe out of two 200-watt strobes, you're going to run into a couple of issues. But if you need to do it, you can do it. All right? Yeah, so here we go. Oh, cool. All right, cool. Is that ready to rock? Yeah. All right. Do you want to, can you get me batteries? And if you do have a Nikon remote, just in case. Okay. So this, let me take off this reflector really quick. So this is two bare bulbs right there, two Evolve 200s right there. And essentially what you're doing, come on. Essentially what you're doing is the module that goes on these heads, this becomes the module. This, my friend, my buddy, it's plastic. This thing is not a lot of weight. However, the weight is coming from literally two lights with batteries. This one doesn't sound like it's gonna light too well. What was the other piece? Oh, if you have it, don't go crazy. So your battery's a lot of weight considering you're doubling it up. Your power pack, there we go. The actual light itself is doubling in weight. So what you're essentially saying is that you're trying to get 400 watt seconds of power into one head and you want to make this lighter weight. Well, you know what I'm going to say to you, right? Your better bet is just get a 400 watt strobe at that point. Why? Well, number one, if you really do need 400 watt seconds of light, we just talked about flash duration. Well, guess what? You are maxing out the power of two lights to get to 400 watt seconds when these lights are only designed for 200 watt seconds. So you might run into a longer flash duration. You also might run into different recycling times on either unit depending on their age. If you've been using one all the time and you just have a second one as a backup or as like a secondary light and it's not used as much, over time, they might not act the same. They might recycle at different times. They might have all sorts of quirks to them because they weren't used in unison like a single strobe would have been, right? Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. If you guys come to the store, make sure you come say what's up to Wes. He's a good kid. And don't forget, when you come in to the store or you support this place called Adorama, it supports this stuff. It supports my young guys at the lighting counter that are getting their careers going, that are doing this between gigs. You know, you're really helping out the industry for real, not some random corpo place, okay? That sounds like a jungle. I'll just say that. So does this make sense to you, Cooley? If I think you guys have to kind of realize how much you're really putting your gear against the wall and to a limit, right? And the more you stress out the gear, the more drawbacks you're gonna have, right? So if you really, do you really need 400 watt seconds? Think of it this way. If you are putting both of these heads into this, and you look at the power that you're running them at, and they're both at 1/2, guess what? Half power plus half power is 1 at full power. So right there, you just cut half your weight. Think about it that way, right? As much as this is like a cool option to have if you need it, instead of stacking the cards to kind of make something work, if you really need the power, it might be time for you to look at a unit that has enough power for you. So make sure you check out, oh, you know what else can affect this? I'm sorry, guys, I forgot about this. Don't forget that these went through different evolutions, right? There was like updates to certain models. Of course, you want to make sure your firmware's updated, but if they were different series or lines, or one's a 2 and one's the original and stuff like that, they're not going to work in unison as clean as they would if it was the exact same unit used the exact same way. You know? So if that's not something that you're going to be worried about, then that's fine. And I'm sure it works fine for most of you. But again, if you're not going to run both of these at full power, if you're going to run half power and half power, well, 400 watt seconds quickly became 200 watt seconds. So now Cooley is asking, would I be better using a 600? Well, your 600 is considerably heavier, and it's going to give you, do you need 400 watt seconds? Answer that question first. Do you really need that much power? Think about it. Do you really need that much power? Right? Have you been running 2 of these together at full power to get whatever you're trying to get? Could you make compromises like opening up your aperture a little wider, easing up on that power, or playing with your ISO to get it a little more balanced? Do you really need 400 watt seconds? Because then that's going to answer a lot of questions for you. Because keep in mind, if you run these at half power each inside this adapter, you're running these at, in theory, 100 watt seconds each to equal 200 watt seconds, which is 1 unit. I just saved you half your weight and that adapter right there. Think about this. Think about what you're actually gaining here. This is a good idea if you already own 2 of these and only once in a while you need the power, instead of buying a unit that you will never really use at full power, which is like a 400 or 600. My theory is you can always turn it up, but why are you turning it up, right? So here's the thing. So for example, this is a 500 watt second light. If I'm only using it at a power of, out of 1 through 10, why do I keep doing that? Why do I keep doing that? That is a bright modeling light. If you were using it at a power of, let's say 7 out of 10, every number, full number, is 1 stop. So 500 watt seconds, 250 watt seconds, right? 125 watt seconds, and this is a power of 8, and now I'm at 60 something watt seconds for a power of 7, right? So now here's the benefits of not using it at full power: faster flash duration, faster recycle, less strain on the flash, less heat being built up in the flash that could cause issues, longer battery life, right? That's the gain. That's what you gain with the higher power lights. is that when you need the power, meaning when you are backing it farther away from your subject, you have that power. If you're in high speed sync a lot, you have that extra power to waste on high speed sync. If you need to cover more area because you are pulling it farther back, that's when you need more power. But in most cases, I find people just get power hungry when they don't realize there's like a couple things they can be doing on the spot that can mitigate needing more power. You've seen me, Joe McNally, Daniel Norton, David Bergman, Vanessa Joy. You've seen us all use speed lights and get through things, right? If you understand what really takes power, you might be saving yourself a lot of headache. And don't forget, your first question was, how can I do this but with less weight? And then you're asking about the 600 watt, which is exponentially more weight. You know? Maya's asking, I have flashpoints. Will Flashpoint or Profoto come out with RGB constant lights? Okay, so first of all, Flashpoint and Godox are pretty much the same, and Godox is the constant light side of Flashpoint, so they make RGBW lights. Yes. Profoto makes RGBW lights now. They are meant for cinema level type stuff. I'm talking very expensive, very highly engineered. They're very cool and they're very amazing, but they're going to be mainly rental lights. So there's that. Okay. What is the correct way to store lenses that are not used often? On end or on the side? I have a long zoom that I only use during the summer. Typically people store them standing straight up, if that helps. Because if you think about it, and this is not definitive. I'm just speaking out of, man, I'm sweating. I'm just speaking up out of like what I've seen out there. So let's say this is a lens and you are worried about it being stagnant over time, which the biggest concern for that would be grease or any type of lubricant settling. If you put it like this, it only settles here. If you put it like this, it still stays in a uniform around the lens. In the end, if whatever gear you have stays stagnant, it's not good. Why do I keep doing this? It's not gonna be good for the gear itself. That's why when people ask me like, oh, I'm getting this vintage, whatever, I'm like, yeah, but you're gonna have to work it in a little bit and make sure it's okay. You know, that video I just did about the 200 millimeter f2, a lot of those lenses over time, the grease kind of got dry and settled and, you know, they're not doing so great or they make a lot of noise in general, you know? So that's that. The Cooley, are we okay? Did everything I say make sense to you? I think you got to really think about, well, what are you trying to do with the power? What are you really trying to do with the power? You know? Wow, got a good amount of you in here today. 50 in here. If you guys get a like, I'd appreciate it. It helps us out. If you're new here, hit subscribe. I go live every Monday. I'm available for these kind of sessions, but also Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday-ish, there's usually something else going live, you know? Yeah, I will be at PPA. I will be at Imaging USA in Nashville. Adorama will be there with a booth. Demos all show long, obviously. That's what we do them. That's our, right? That's our, right? And I will be on stage, I think, Tuesday morning, I think Tuesday 10 a.m. is my stage thing. If you guys want to join me there. We'll also be at WPPI in Vegas if you want to go check that out. Right. So Cooley, what I'm asking you is, why are you power hungry? Like what are you trying to do? What aren't you doing to get more out of your strobes? And if you're concerned with weight, the bigger the light is, the more power the light is, the heavier it's going to be, my friend. So if you're trying to put a 600 watt strobe on a travel stand, someone's going to die, my friend. No, I'm just kidding. Just it's not the safest thing ever. And usually, I mean, to be honest, with these being 200 watts now, we have, what are we talking, like 3 stops more of power than we used to have in lights this size. You're living the dream, my friend. You know? So think of things you can do. 1, strobe closer to subject. 2, opening up a little bit more. 3, maybe shooting at higher ISOs. But if you're looking to take it outside and you're looking to mitigate the ambient light to underexpose it and then bring in your light, that's a case where I'd say, okay, I understand that you're going to need a little bit more power, meaning you have to close down, meaning you're trying to suffocate the camera for light so then you can then put in your light. If you are suffocating it for light, then that means you need more power to get light through to that camera. That makes more sense. Yeah, see, Brad's saying he has two 600 but uses 200s more often because in most cases, it will do what you need it to do. It's probably easier for you to carry. You can carry more of them at once. Easier for you to carry grip for it, meaning lighter stands or whatever. But if you were in a situation where you're like, man, I got to do high-speed sync, that eats up a lot of power, or I have to shove this light through a lot of diffusion because I need to diffuse the light exponentially for some kind of reflection or maybe a size of a softbox, or you're bouncing it off of a tall subject, meaning like ceilings like this are so tall, it's tough bouncing a speed light off of these sometimes if you want to close down. So whatever you think you need the power for, really think if you are shooting that way. Always try to shoot in open shade. So you don't really need a lot of power, my friend. You are shooting the ambient light. You are just putting in a strobe to match that ambient light. If you're already shooting in like a wider aperture, you're already shooting for the ambient light, you really don't need that much power. So what I would say to you is shoot with, try using one light, not grouped together like this, right? And do yourself a favor and just keep an eye on what your power really is. If this power isn't 100%, if it isn't full power all the time, think to yourself, why do you need more power? And if it is at full power, what are you set at that's making it need to be at full power? Meaning, is it really far away? Are you shooting way closed down when you don't really need to be? Like what situation are you in that requires the more power, right? If you told me, well, I'm shooting 12-person wedding parties, I get it because you're gonna need strobes to cover like 6 people a piece. Backing that light up so it spreads more means you're gonna need more power. That I understand, you know? So just think about that, all right? Will you have photo critiques on this stage? No. These are classes. These are demos that I do that are not, I don't do anywhere else. We shoot live. There's a topic. If you've never been to a trade show, you basically get a list of all the classes that are happening each day at what times, and you kind of make a plan on which ones you want to go to. So you can go to ones on business, you can go to ones on the guys like me and Daniel who shoot live and talk about more technical, or you can go to people talking about the future of the industry. You know, right now AI is a big thing, right? So a lot of the conversations are about like, what is really happening with our industry? So, or if it's a genre photography, meaning, well, I want to learn more about shooting weddings and engagements and how to get clients that way versus how do I shoot commercially? How do I produce a commercial shoot versus I shoot high school sports and here's how I do huge volume and here's how I work with kids and stuff like that. So you really have to kind of build your own curriculum when you go to these shows. It's like 3 days of just go, 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 go. The cool thing about imaging is the show doesn't happen at the same time. The trade show, I'm saying, doesn't happen at the same time as the classes, meaning you don't have to worry about missing something for something else that isn't a class. So you have classes for 2 sessions of classes, then you have the show, and then you have classes after the trade show. So you really make it your own experience, all right? But photo critiques, you know, you're really looking for portfolio reviews, and there's very few shows that do that anymore, unfortunately. I would like to bring it in here. You really don't know how crazy it is to get those going. This is why Seth used to carry about 400 speed lights. No, so I think that there's a confusion in that. I didn't carry a lot of speed lights to group them together. I carried around more speed lights to light in zones. So if I'm lighting with Quinn, I got a speed light here, I got a speed light to do a rim light. I got a speed light for the background. If I'm shooting her in an environment, I'm putting a speed light under the table. I'm putting, you know, when I used to shoot with I shot cars when I was younger. I used to put speed lights inside the cars and give them like a cool glow inside the car, so it wasn't just like dead windows, you know. But you can't do that with just one light. But having multiple small lights, I could do a lot, you know. The Adorama, I don't know what you mean by the Adorama stage. Do you mean here? Yeah, well, you know, we need something like that in New York that isn't owned by, that's ran by an organization, not a profit company. I'll say that. But I can't control the world. All right, any other questions, guys? This is a weird one. We really didn't have anything set going here. Yet last time we did that Stranger Things thing out of nowhere, which was kind of wild. And boy, was my head killing me after that. Lightning McQueen. Okay, you guys are getting a little goofy now. All right, so we just did a whole lot of talking about power and flash duration. I hope, was any of that like not clear for you guys? Anything that I just went over that sounds crazy? Because I think a lot of people get caught in these rabbit holes of just buying higher power, crazier gear. And if you think about it, power of lights is almost like megapixels of cameras. They're still, you know, low resolution not low, but like, you know, 12, 24 megapixel cameras. We don't all need 40, 50, 60 megapixels, right? And there's trade-offs to everything. Every spec has a trade-off. So if I have a higher resolution camera, I might have things like slower frames per second, or a buffer that gets clogged up easier, or noise at high ISOs, or just file sizes in general, things like that. Also, price jumps up considerably. If I have higher powered lights, size of that light goes up, battery power for that light goes up, cost of those batteries go up. You know, you have to kind of, and definitely price of that light goes up for sure, you know. Oh, what's going? Hey, what's up, Edgar? I hope that went well. I practiced the Stranger Things last night with my daughter, and when we were done, everything around the house looked green. Yes. So now do you understand what I was going through? What were we doing? Oh, there's a video on, let me see if I can find it, because no one even watched this video. So hopefully I can get you guys to watch this video. Adorama makeup forever. Let me see if this comes up. So we did this shoot. Come on, where is it? Ah, here it is. So we did this shoot a long time ago in Paris. Boy, look how young I was. I'm going to put this in the chat really quick. And part of the shoot ended up being, so this was, I think I did two makeups. I shot two different makeups, right? And so we were trying to make one of the body paints match. Come on, Seth, stop talking. We were trying to make the RGB lights match the body paint. And we were using the Westcott Flexes at that time. Oh my God, Seth, shut up. Where is it? There it is. So we were matching the yellow and the teal together. And it was so much power I was pumping through because I was trying to get through an opaque paper that this, I don't know, what was it? It was like, I guess the teal was causing my brain to, when anyone opened the door, it looked like a flood of pink light. And it was maddening. I mean, that was dense paper. It was meant to be. So yeah, here I'm using all speed lights. There you go. Oh, an entire studio, commercial makeup, all speed lights. This is a very long time ago. That's Joe McNally's signature box back then. I mean, this was a lot of improvising from everybody there. I mean, it was just bananas. But then, oh no, this was what it was. I'm sorry. So we shot this crazy green light because this makeup artist is known for using neon greens in his work. I'm using a DSLR there. That's a Nikon D850 I'm using there. And I was doing stuff with shutter drag. So it was just like pumping green light. Yeah, Whoa is right. And then whenever somebody opened up the door, it was just pink. just pouring in pink, just like, so yeah, all that green light had to register, you know, and I needed a lot of power to do that. And it worked out. So I'll put this link in the chat. You guys can check it out. Drop a comment on there. Let them know this is still alive. Command C, Command V. So go check that one out. Nobody watched that video, and I thought it was like one of the best videos I did. And nobody watched it. Like it was like, you know. So Blair is asking, LED boards in sports and concert screens, any advice to reduce the banding when shooting at higher speeds, like 1/1000th? So honestly, usually you would have to slow down your shutter speed to get the LED boards to light up in a frequency that all matches up. If you really need, first of all, I wouldn't be shooting at a thousandth of a second at a concert to begin with. If you really think you need to super freeze things, but I like a little organic movement, but I understand going that high. Either way, to get that LED board to come up, you're talking about like probably below 2/50th of a second to get things to start calming down. With that said, there are flicker reduction modes in your camera, but I don't think it's really going to do much for you at all. You can give that a shot, but there are flicker reduction modes. There's also shutter speed. What do they call it? Hang on. What do they call it? They call it custom buttons. High frequency shutter. Is that what they call it? Let me see. Function 1. Where's the lens button? High frequency flicker reduction. So that's in Nikon, and Sony has a version of it. I'm pretty sure Canon does as well, where you basically get to dial in like decimal points of a shutter speed. I found that to work for me. So if you're shooting with a newer Z series that has high frequency reduction, I program it to a lens function button so I can go in and out of it when I want. And you just kind of like get to around the shutter speed you want speed-wise. So if you're saying 1,000th, you might need like 1160.43 as your shutter speed. In fact, let me see if I can even dial in something. So yeah, this is, let me see. So this is, I'll put it down around like 1,000. Let me see if you can see this. So you see right here, it's like 1050.4. And if I keep on changing it, it's at 1132.9. And it might give you the, and a lot of times it's about dialing it in, you know? No luck, mainly sports. You definitely try to dial in, because I have had it work for me in situations, but every environment is different. And just so you're aware, like, global isn't always the answer either, because at some point it'll just be off or on for global, because there is a flicker to it. So if it's not a magic bullet there either. We're gonna have to get to a point where the flicker frequency for the LEDs themselves will just get better and better, and will be easier mitigated for stills. But it's one of those things that, out of everything we can do, it's still got a pain to it. So there's that. I know it's not the answer you want to hear, but I have found that some people just need to spend a little more time dialing in the in-between frequency shutter speed, because it's going to be within tenths of a decimal. You know what I mean? Like, it's really tough. So maybe check some message boards, like sports shooter message boards. Maybe somebody has a few frame rates that they find, not frame rates, shutter speed frequencies that work for them, and maybe you could try those out. But again, if you're at a high school gym versus a stadium, or you have an LED board that was made in 2008 versus one that was made in 2023 or whatever, like they're going to be different. You know what I mean? So it's not, there's no magic bullet on that one. I'm sorry. And even global shutter isn't a magic bullet, like I said, because it's in a single instant. You'll get it, and you might not get any of it. So there's that, you know. Just joined from Brighton. Your silver speedlight adapter you use on your Profoto RFI. Are you able to fit an A2 on that mount? Are you I think you're watching an old video, and that was probably, are you talking about the makeup pro video? That was a DIY solution, I'll say. Nowadays, you have actual Profoto adapters, the OCF1 and the OCF2. The OCF2 is definitely, in my opinion, a lot better than the one, but it's an investment. But there are adapters, so many. Back then, that was 2018 or 19. Back then, there was no adapters, so I ripped apart a speed ring, which was expensive, and I made something with a stand adapter to it. So that was DIY. Nowadays, you have so many options. It's insane. Just look for Profoto adapter, and you're done. All right. The OCF adapter is definitely worth it if you are looking at a bunch of modifiers you already own that you want to use with the A series. So you want to check that out. Any other questions, guys? Why is my phone flying? No worries. Thank you. And I appreciate you following along. And, you know, we're cranking as much as we can. I am trying to make sure me and the team here are trying very much to make sure you have quality content coming out of this event space, meaning this isn't the place for people to try their first ever class. I kind of look at this like our photo nerd version of CBGB's meets the Comedy Cellar, right? Like it's very face to face, it's very communal, it's very like right here, you're at level, you know, and there's a resource for you guys. I definitely use it to kind of sharpen my abilities to kind of do demos and talk to you guys. But on my own channel, I'm working real hard to kind of fill that as well. So bandwidth is just a crushing thing. Looking to switch from Elechrome to Profoto, but there's so many options on the Adorama site. Which would you recommend for high volume but still battery powered? Okay, so for example, first of all, what Elechrome are you switching from? And are you looking for a similar power, right? So if you're looking for 500 watt seconds, this is a B30 that's 500 watt seconds, which is battery powered. But also, you can plug in the power adapter for high volume, which is what I do. Do I have it? I do. I actually modified my power adapters, but that's a video on my channel, and it is not sanctioned by any brand, so I don't want to tell you guys that. But you can plug it into the battery and then plug it into the wall. So for high volume, yes, it's on battery, but you can also run it out of the wall if you need to. So in my studio, I'll shoot plugged in if I have a high volume day, but then if they say, hey, can we go on the balcony or outside for a quick bit? I unplug this, and now I have a full battery ready to go outside and rock. So if you're looking to get into Profoto and you need a lot of power, B30. If you want to relax a little bit on the price and you don't need 500 watt seconds, 250 will do all right. You got the B20. So those are your two choices. B20, 250 watt second, B30, 500 watt second. If you really are looking to do a high volume, okay? If you are able to plug in, if you do a D series, it's plug in, which means you get faster recycle. It might be a little lower cost for you. But I understand wanting a battery, trust me. Even in a studio, you just don't want to have cables on. I totally get it. Totally get it. Man, I'm switching from 1,000 watt seconds that's wired. I need something more mobile and versatile. Well, you're not going to find you're not going to find a lightweight, easy battery powered 1,000 watt seconds. There are out there, but they're pretty big and chunky. Profoto does make a Pro B, as in battery, Pro B3. That's 750 watt seconds, and is a completely different battery than this. The battery is like this big, but that is an expensive light, and you really got to need that power. If you know, again, are you using all 1,000 watt seconds all the time? If you tell me that you're using a 1,000 watt second light, but you are running it 2 stops lower, you're not even close to 1,000 watt seconds, right? If you're 2 stops lower, you're at, well, 1 stop is 500, and then 2 stops is 250. So then if you get 500 watt seconds, you are 1 stop above the power you usually shoot at, and you're in good shape. So I think you'd be surprised. I think a lot of people just buy more power, more power. I really think that's a thing. Maybe I got to do a video on that. I did do a video on my channel explaining what the numbers and the power on the back of your flash mean. But I think when people are buying strobes, they just think like, I need all the power in the world. And then if you're not using, the only advantage you'll gain if you're not using all the power is a faster flash duration and a faster recycle time. Meaning if you have 1,000 watt second light that you shoot at 500 watt seconds or lower, you will have, if you shoot it at a lower power, you'll have shorter flash duration, faster recycle, which is really the advantage of having a higher powered light. I never use all 1,000 watt seconds because the flash duration and refresh stuff is a lot. So there you go, right? Man, I'm running out of breath. I can't tell you how hard it is to talk to nothing. And you're on a delay. It's like, I can't tell you how exhausting these are. So if you're not using all 1,000, right, because of the duration and the refresh, what are you shooting it at? So where in reality, in real life use, if you're doing high volume work, where are you resting on your power? Okay. And don't forget, watt seconds isn't the definitive power of the light. Watt seconds is the potential of the light. It's not the output. Don't forget that. So for example, I have speedotrons from years ago that are apparently 2,400 watt seconds, but I have Photo lights that give me more power at about, probably about about 2/3 the power. No, is it 2/3? Wait a second. If I have a 2,400 watt second pack, I put 2 lights and that's 1,200 watt seconds. And if I run a Photo, so yeah, it's about 2/3 the power. No, 100 watt seconds. Man, it is half the power plus so 2/3, yeah. This is really helpful though. The insight of knowing B30, B20 share the same battery and it's different from the B3 actually might save me some headache. Yeah, so I don't think you could run what the B3 does on this battery. Okay, there are if you don't mind plugging in, there is the Photo D2, which is 1,000 watt seconds. They are older lights though. Just be aware of that. But if you do need a battery powered light, do yourself a favor, maybe rent a B30, see how it does for your workflow, right? And then make a decision from there. But the B30, I wish I had one. And let me tell you, when that light got, I'm not even making this up. Photo went like this out of nowhere. My guy shows up and goes like this. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, what am I looking at? And I thought it was a 1,250 watt second battery light. And I was like, I don't care what this costs. I will buy this. And I will go into debt forever, and I will find jobs to pay for it. But it was only a 750 watt second, which is only like a half a stop above this. But you gain that Ferrari engine of faster flash duration, faster recycle, the bigger battery. It's a harder core light. What it is replacing is basically. Actually, it's not. It's basically a new line. It's basically one step above this. It's basically a new line. Yeah. Because the light that I want to buy, which is the Pro D3, which is what we had in here. We had the 1,250 watt second light in here. Do you guys remember when I shot 20 frames a second in here? Do you remember this? When we shot 20 frames a second and they were all completely consistent, no color shift, no exposure shift. Look at that, completely consistent. That light is 1,250 watt second plug-in. But prior to that light, the light in that line was 1,000 watt seconds. So they made the 500 into 750 and they made the 1,000 into a 1,250. So both D series lights got an upgrade there. And I really want that light. So the reason I like that much power is my studio is a daylight studio. It's all white and it's great when I need it and it makes things a lot easier until I try to lock out all that light. And having something with 1250 watt seconds allows me to shoot shallower apertures in a daylight environment and have that high speed sync overhead. So if you watched my video on my channel where I shot the Sigma 200mm f2, well, the only thing people are going to care about with that lens is f2, right? So I had to shoot wide open. Shooting wide open left all this ambient light flying into my lens. I didn't want that. So I had to shoot at about a 2,000th of a second, honestly, to lock out that light. And then because I'm locking out so much light in the camera, I need to introduce a strobe that could give me the power at high speed sync, which is 1250 watt seconds. And I was using a 4-foot octa. I wasn't using a small modifier, 4 feet with 2 layers of diffusion. I'm losing a couple stops there. I'm losing a few stops on high speed sync. So that 1250 watt second gets chopped down pretty quick to probably like 200 something watt seconds after you think about it. 2 stops of light out of 1250, right? So we're talking about half power of 1250. That's like 6 and change. Another half out of that, we're talking about 300 and change, right? So that's just with the softbox I was using. Now high speed sync comes into play and you're probably losing about 3 stops, maybe more. And that's being generous. So we're at 300, now we're at 150, now we're at 75. Yeah, we cut down the power of that light pretty quickly, but we're shooting at f2. So I pick up the exposure there, shooting nice and wide. So if you haven't watched my Sigma 200 f2 video, that's on my personal channel. You guys can find that on your own. But that was a situation I absolutely needed power for. And I've always wanted 1,000 watt second light to be on hand when I need it. In the end, it turned into needing a little more power than not needing a little more power, but just they updated the light to a 1250, so I might as well just go with having basically a quarter stop more than the old one. That's wild. I need this. If they ever power that battery, it would be perfect. I'm pretty sure you can plug in the Pro B3 to power. I could be wrong. I had it in my hands for 5 minutes. I definitely gotta check that out. But you can check out all my stuff here, all my links, and everything through there. But man, we just blew through the hour, guys. Last call for questions. Me and Quinn didn't even shoot anything. You believe this? Don't forget tomorrow, the dog portraits all day in here. I'm looking forward to this. I'm gonna be squishing all the faces and going like this to all the big. I hope we get big, fuzzy dogs in here like bears. I want like, you know, it's gonna be so much fun. So tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern for the rest of the day. I'm just gonna hit go on the live stream. You guys can just basically fly on the wall as Carmen shoots Punch and Pups, hang out, talk with each other, say what's up. You know, everybody good? If you guys. Man, we got a good crowd in here today. I really appreciate you. If you can hit like, I'd appreciate it. It helps out this channel, helps me out. I want to get this channel to 100K. I need that silver play button, people. We are almost at 40,000, which is amazing. And I can't thank you guys enough. So what I would say, there are live streams on copyright, on business, on lighting, on posing, everything you possibly need. There's videos here. Find a video that you like, share it with a photo nerd friend. Sharing the videos around absolutely helps more than anything, believe it or not. And we would appreciate it. And the more this channel grows, the more resources I can get to do crazier, cool things for you. All right? You know? We'll definitely tell them you sent me when I upgrade. Hopefully, I don't get a commission. Don't worry about it. But ProPhoto definitely knows who I am. I send them like a Torah of things I want them to do. And to all disclosure, I am a ProPhoto ambassador, but I don't have to use only ProPhoto, which is very cool of them, you know? Last call, guys. Last call for questions. No, thank you guys. No, thank you. Listen, I don't think you understand. Like, we cannot do this if you guys don't pile in that chat room. If there are nobody watching, then there's nothing I can go to the powers that be to get more resources for stuff like this. And don't forget, when you guys are making your choices this holiday season, whatever, you are supporting the kids in here that are working here between gigs while their careers are starting. You're supporting this event space. You know, if you support a website that's named after a jungle, you're just paying for some guy's yacht. Here, you're building, all right? This community stays glued together from support from you, me, Daniel, Ab, Joe, Lindsay Adler, Vanessa Jolie, everybody that's involved on this side. Like, we're trying so hard to give you everything you need so that you stick around and you grow. It does nothing otherwise, all right? Seriously. I can't thank you guys enough. I know these streams don't get the most views, but you know, I do think it's important to have an open format like this. Make sure you check out that copyright stream, please, with Gili Karav. Make sure you go to the live tab. That's where all the live streams are. I'm trying to put them back out as compilations as they age a little bit so that if you missed it, you have something to play back. Don't forget, you also have the 8-hour long all-day replay that you can just put on. You need a screensaver? You need something on in the background? If you're like me, while you're editing, you just need noise. You need something happening around you. Maybe because I'm from New York and I need to be around chaos. But you need something put on? Why not? You have no idea how many random things will subconsciously embed themselves into your mind and you'll be doing things you didn't think of, you know? You guys have a Glow Parasnap on sale. Which Parasnap? What size? The Parasnap is a good series. Just to be aware, they shoot a little cooler. So if you mix them with other Glow soft boxes, you might see a little bit of a shift. I think we did this during one of the live streams a while ago. So just be aware of that if you're trying to balance all your lights, okay? Minimum watt required for LED lights for portraits. Okay, well, one, what style light? What kind of portraits? Is it full body? Are you trying to eliminate the light in your environment and only use the LED light? These are all things you gotta ask yourself. What you might wanna do is set a budget for yourself and then see your options in that budget. It'll wipe most of the things off the table for you to make it a little bit easier options-wise. And then you got to think, well, what kind of light am I going to do? Do I want a mono light where I can put on a softbox? Do I want a panel light? What am I trying to do? What do I want? What am I looking for? So start with a budget and what look you're trying to go for, okay? And they're super helpful to know if we have a question, we can meet you here. Yeah, I try to. I don't have all the answers, but I try, you know? 32-inch Parasnap is on sale. Very cool. Parasnap's a good line to stay up on. They you know, that's actually Adorama's house brand, so they can, you know, when they can throw on a sale, they'll throw on a sale, you know what I mean? So again, guys, I would really urge you to start with a budget, okay? Because I can show you a light that's probably the same power that's either $600 or $200, right? And I see people come into the store all the time. They go like, I need a constant light. And then you show them something and they go, wait, I thought these were like $40. Like, no, that's going to give you horrible color, not be as bright as you want, look pretty bad, probably break, have a horrible stand adapter, all sorts of problems, right? So don't go too budget on it. But there's a lot of options between Nanlite and Godox. I think Nanlite, the FS series, F as in Frank, Seth as in S as in Seth. I think they give you a good value because they basically are only plug-in, no battery option, and they don't give you a case, but the box itself can be a case. And it's almost like $1 a watt, give or take, on that line, which I think is probably one of your best values out there. But Godox has a lot of options as well. You got Amaran from Aperture. You've got a lot of options. That's what I'm saying. Start with a budget and what you really want to get out of that light, what you really want to do with it. You know, don't forget, it's not just the light. You're going to want to get modifiers. You're going to want to get, you know, a stand for it. You might want an arm for it. You know, think about these things, you know. If you want, Daniel Norton did a pretty good LED live stream. Was it last week? It ended with a very cool shot. I'm just going to say he shot with Marissa with like a red LED background, and we put a blue tube in there, you know. Yeah, and you could also do tubes, which don't have a lot of modifiers, but they are easy to spread light in a good amount of area. without having to grip it too crazy. But I think tubes are like really good, but also very limited. I'll just say that. Yeah. All right. Look, we're at the hour. I'm sorry we didn't shoot anything. I don't think we had anything question-wise to shoot, but I hope you guys are enjoying this. Make sure you check out the rest of this channel, please. If you're new here, hit subscribe. And if you are subscribed, make sure you hit the bell, because the majority of this channel is live, and you're going to want to jump in this chat and ask those questions to those instructors while they're here, while they're doing the thing they're doing. So make sure you hit the bell so you get notified when we go live. Don't forget about Adorama TV. There's Adorama Cinema if you guys want to get into the cinema side of things. Hope you pay Quinn anyways. I give her shelter. I give her shelter and clothes. Come on. Come on. Come on. You guys are killing me. Man, I love how I set up. No joke. There are 5 cameras set up and I use 1. Like, what are we doing? So Brian's saying if you change your ISO, your light becomes more powerful. Sort of, but you're also dealing with the ambient light coming into that camera a lot easier as well. So it's not that the light gets more powerful, it's that your camera becomes more sensitive to light. And that means all light, whether it's the constant light or the strobe, right? So keep that in mind, you know? And I sometimes I play ISO games so that I actually am able to have one stop of power to kill globally, meaning my entire setup. Sometimes in a tricky situation, I'll set my camera to 200 ISO so that if I see everything getting hot and there's something just not right and it's getting a little overexposed, instead of me adjusting everything, I drop back to 100 ISO and it kills a stop of light for me. So it's a little get out of jail free card in a really tricky situation. That is another talk for another time, because that's a lot to go over. Yeah. All right, guys. You good? Hopefully I'll see you in this chat tomorrow for Carmen shooting all the pet portraits in here, which I think it'll be pretty dope, you know? And yeah. What should we say? If you're watching this on playback, and you hit this point in the stream, comment down below cannoli, because Cafe Belle over here in like Soho-y kind of area, she just put out a cannoli pie that has been on my brain, and I got to go see this woman and get the cannoli pie. That's what I got to do, cannoli. She's also the one that came up with the rainbow cookie ice cream sandwich that made my whole summer. It was awesome. And she's no longer doing it. I got to wait a whole year to get that sandwich again. So cannoli. Say cannoli in the comments if you watched this far. Man, I never know how to dismount these things. I always feel like I'm leaving too much on the table, like I didn't cover something or whatever, you know? You spelled cannoli totally wrong, Joris. My gosh, wow. All right. Listen, guys, you can follow me here, Last X Witness, on everything. That's my YouTube. That's my Instagram. That's everything. You'll probably find me on Instagram stories more than anything else. Leave the pro photo, take the cannoli. Why didn't I think of that? All right. That's a good one. Actually, that'd be a good shirt. No. All right. Yeah, so I'll see you one way or another. And also, Wednesday will be the last Coffee with Creators for a couple weeks. I'm going to be, obviously there's Thanksgiving, which messes up that week. And then I'm in London with Joe McNally the following week. We're going to be teaching a class out there. Then when I come back. But this Wednesday is Minxie White, Leica ambassador, director, photographer. Her aesthetic, her fashion sense, the vibe off of this human being is phenomenal. So hopefully I'll see you guys Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern on the main channel. And yeah, I guess I'll see you on the next one, guys. Be good to each other. Be good to each other in the comments. And I will see you. I'll see you tomorrow, right? Come join me for the pet photography thing. Come on. Forget about it. All right, guys. Be good. Later.